everybody, TJ Mack Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here. And before I get into today's video content, I want to do a quick shout out to the channel Rick Acosta, Dodger Card Collector. And I stumbled on his channel by accident. I just saw it in my YouTube feed one day, and I opened it up and watched his video, and I realized that was the same Rick that sometimes comments on different people's videos, including mine. He always leaves nice and genuine comments that I always appreciate when I see him on my videos. And I just noticed he started making content, and I subscribed to his channel and started watching his other videos. And boy, he puts out some great stuff. He's working on a 57 top set, a 41 play ball graded set, as well as collecting Dodger cards from the T206 era all the way up to the present time. And just really love his content. I just enjoy how he connects with cards and just sharing his stories growing up and what cards meant to him, and even talking about like the players that he picks up in his collection, which is something that I greatly appreciate as well, and something I try to do with my content. He's only got 23 subscribers. He's a pretty humble guy that's obviously not advertising his channel and his comments, and I just want to give him a shout out. And if you're interested, I'll leave a link to his channel down below. So in today's video, I want to talk about Roger Staubach and my player run collection that I have of his from 1972 tops to 1979 tops. It's one of the early football runs that I worked on when I got into football card collecting, again, back in the 2008-2009 time frame. I was originally just baseball, my first, in my return to collecting back in 2000, then I expanded out to football. And he was one of the early runs that I wanted to complete because I just am a huge Cowboys fan and a huge Staubach fan from just when I was growing up, and just what he meant to that franchise. So here I have what I think is the mind, the soul, and the heart of the Dallas Cowboys. You have Tom Landry, who certainly turned that team into a perennial playoff contender during his time with the Dallas Cowboys from 1960 to 1988. And the Cowboys were terrible in his early years, and by the mid-'60s, they started becoming a playoff contender, losing a couple tough championship games to the Packers, but later tasted victory in 1971, winning the Super Bowl, and then winning another one in 77. So this is his third of 3 playing days cards. He has a 51 Bowman, a 52 Bowman, and this 55. I do have all 3, but this one I like because it shows his face, and this is the way I remember him looking on the sidelines growing up, just without the iconic fedora that he wore on his head. And then in the middle here, we have the soul of the Dallas Cowboys, Bob Lilly. He was their first, I think, great player in franchise history, their first draft pick, one of the top 10 best defensive tackles in my mind of all time. I do have all his cards in his playing days run from 63 to 1975. And it's a player I'm proud to have in my collection because he was a reflection of what the Dallas Cowboys were. Just a tough team on the field and a winning team, and that's what Bob Lilly was. And then here, the third card is the Roger Staubach rookie, 72 tops, and he was the heart of the Dallas Cowboys. He made them into America's team by the late 70s. He's one of the most popular athletes of the 1970s, probably the most popular football player from that era, and somebody whose game would translate no problem to today. He was actually ahead of his time. The Cowboys ran a shotgun offense in the 1970s, one of the only teams to do that, which really helped him because he was a great running quarterback as well as a great passing quarterback. When he retired, he had an 83.4 quarterback rating, which would not be very good today, but that was the NFL record at the time for a career. And it just shows you how efficient and accurate he was as a passer during a period where the way the defenses were set up, it favored the defense over the offense. So it made it very hard for quarterbacks to move the ball through the passing game. But Staubach was one that could do it. He was also the MVP of the 1971 Super Bowl. And this just kind of shows you the kind of guy he is that instead of taking the sports car, he took a station wagon because he had 3 kids, and he was being very practical and thinking as a family man, didn't have a lot of money like quarterbacks do today. He needed that to help raise his family, so he took the station wagon, which I have a lot of respect for that. Now, in his 9 years as a quarterback, he became a starter in the 1971 season at 29 years old because he had to serve his military commitment until 1969. He was drafted by the Cowboys in 65, so he's a 29-year-old quarterback. And in his 9 seasons as a starting quarterback with the Cowboys, they made the playoffs 8 times, went to the Super Bowl 4 times, and won 2 Super Bowl championships. So he was a winner, and just somebody that is a Cowboys fan growing up. I only remember really his last season, and I don't even know how much I remember of that. But he was always there. I mean, the shadow of him loomed large on the Cowboys after he left because of the type of quarterback that he was. And I'm just, one of the runs that I wanted to complete. And I'm just so proud to have these cards in my collection. So this is a 72 Topps rookie, as I said. And then next to that's the 73 Topps. And then we have the 74 Topps. And what I like is that, I'm going to take the 72 out for a second and slide these ones over. The 75 and 74 are the same photo here. You can see the tape under, or same photo session, I'm sorry. You can see the tape there under his elbows. And what I like about these cards is that there's this certain era about Staubach that you can see here. You got the nice blue behind him. It's not quite as blue there in the 74, but you can see it in the 73 and 75. And he just has this air about him that makes him above others. And I've talked about this in another video that I did. And you can just see by the camera angle here that the photographer took, it just gives him that special air to him. And I just always appreciated that about these 3 cards in particular of Roger. So to go along with the 75, I have the 76 and 77 here. The 77 is his first game action shot. You can see him looking like he's about to hand the ball off. And the 77 is the year that they won the Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos. So that's certainly a memorable card for me to have in my collection. And I like the 76 as well. I like this set with that big giant football there with the team name on it. Just great looking cards. Here we have a 78 and 79 Topps card. The 79 is probably my favorite of all my Staubach cards. I mean, the one that I would part with last in my collection is the 72 rookie, but the 79 has a connection to me because it was my first year of opening packs, and I do remember getting his card and just the thrill that was. And even though, like I said, I don't remember a lot about his career, I just knew how important he was to the Dallas Cowboys. So just a great card, and I always loved the NFC All-Pro and AFC All-Pro cards from that season. Just wonderful colors on those cards. And it's got the bokeh effect going on that I've talked about with the blurred out background, really bringing your eye to the image of Staubach there looking like that. He's probably warming up before he got onto the field. When I want to talk about Staubach as a person, this is something I learned on the Football Life, the NFL Network Football Life on him, and what he had done for Thomas Hollywood Henderson. And Hollywood Henderson was one of the great players of the Cowboys in the late 70s. His star didn't shine very bright for too long. He thought a lot of himself. That's why he gave himself the name Hollywood. And Lawrence Taylor, it was said, took his number 56 from Hollywood Henderson because he was a fan of his. And certainly Taylor had his bouts with drugs, just like Thomas Henderson had. But he was such a great athlete, Thomas Henderson was, that he used to return kicks for the Cowboys. And he was 6'2", about 230 pounds. And this, you see this guy running back kick returns. Just gives you an idea of the athlete that he was. And in the Football Life episode, it talked about in 1983 that Henderson was at a low point of his life in drug rehabilitation, thinking about committing suicide. And he placed a call to Roger Staubach, who just took the time to tell him that, hey, Thomas, you're a good guy. You've always been a good guy, and you just got messed up in drugs. And that really helped Henderson with his recovery, and he gave up drugs, and he credits Staubach for saving his life. And one interesting thing about Hollywood Henderson is that later on in his life, he won the lottery not once but twice. So he became a multimillionaire later on in life. So I've talked about this before, how much I love people that redeem themselves, and Henderson's a good story of that. A guy that got messed up and really turned his life around, and he took the time to appreciate those people that helped him do that. And it's just something that I admire about Staubach and Henderson as well. So now I'm going to take a moment to show all my Staubach cards together, but before I do that, I want to show just the one magazine that I have in my collection from his playing days. This is a beautiful copy of a January 1977 Sport magazine. You can see the red, white, and blue on the Cowboys helmets there. They wore that during the bicentennial year. And this is from my father-in-law's magazines that he had given to the family. And this is just a wonderful example. No label on it. Great image of Staubach looking right at you, it looks like, on the cover. And one that I'm real pleased that was left behind for our family, that we get to enjoy it. Not a very big run of cards that Roger Staubach have, but I think it's an important run for a vintage football collector, especially if you're into 70s football. I don't think you could have a great 70s football collection unless you had at least a couple Roger Staubachs in it. And just very pleased to have these. He's just somebody that I have so much admiration for. So that's it for today. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk again soon.